Thompson, although he hasn't responded to me yet.
Oh, you want me to text?
Yeah, would you mind? You have his number?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought, yeah, I figured he was one of your friends. But he didn't say no, he just hadn't responded. Like, so it's Thompson, Travinski, and oh. Okay, y'all, start with Coach Mainieri. If you would indicate in the chat if you have a question, Doesn't look like anyone has done that yet. So we'll just go ahead and get started with whoever has a question and we'll continue from there. Go ahead. Okay, Wilson, you're up first.
All right. Hey, Paul, how are you doing today?
Wilson, get back okay?
Yeah. I guess with the Grambling game getting canceled this year, you said you wanted to hopefully use that game to look at some bullpen arms. Not being able to have that, does it affect anything of how you use the bullpen this weekend in any way?
Well, we're gonna have to gamble and we're gonna make a few changes for who's available for us this weekend. We're gonna go with some of the younger kids. Take a couple of the older guys off of the active roster this weekend and put a couple of the younger guys on the roster, and just hope that they're ready to perform. I really like the way that Theo Millis threw last week, and was anxious to see him throw in the middle of the week, but I'm going to go ahead and put him on the roster this week. Also going to go with Javen Coleman on the roster this week as a left-hander. I'm going to put Alex Brady back on the roster as well. Just make a few changes there and see if we can't get a little bit more production out of our bullpen.
Hey coach, it's Glenn West here. Just I guess kind of maybe preview this South Carolina team that's coming in, tomorrow, and just kind of what you've seen from them. Obviously they're, like most of the teams you face this year, a top 10, top 5 team in the country. Just what are some of the challenges that they present?
Yeah, I sound like a broken record, I'm sure, when I say this, but boy, they got some real power arms. Look at the numbers. Well, you look at the video and you can see why they have the numbers that they have. They got some guys that really throw the ball hard. Their number 1 starter, Farr, and their number 2 starter, remind me his name. Jordan. Both have 60 plus strikeouts in, I think, 40 innings pitched. Mid 90s guys. Their closer, I think it's Carey, isn't it? In it, Bill. Averages almost 2 strikeouts an inning. They got two guys out of the bullpen, Bosnick and Peters. I've watched them pitch. They both throw exceptionally hard, mid 90s guys, and they just got power arm after power arm after power arm, a lot like Vanderbilt's pitching staff. They also offensively have a lot of power. Their leadoff hitter is not a typical leadoff hitter. He's a 3-hole hitter. He reminds you a lot of Dylan Cruz. He's a guy that can leave the ballpark at any time. He's been real hot too, especially in SEC play. Their lineup really is built around power. They play in a ballpark that's conducive to hitting home runs. Their new ballpark I say their new ballpark, it's the same age as ours. They built their park the same year that we built ours in 2009. But it's a home run hitter's haven. And so they built their team obviously to hit home runs. They don't steal a lot of bases. It's built around power arms and power bats. And, so that's what we're in store for, a team that can try to outslug you and try to strike a lot of your batters out. So we have to be prepared for that challenge. And, they've been playing good baseball. They had a big win last night. They were able to obviously play. We weren't. I think Mark Kingston is an outstanding coach. No question about that. So it's, hopefully the weather is going to cooperate. We're going to be able to get these games in, and, it should be a great series.
If Paul, you mentioned the weather, is there any sort of possibility that things might have to get shifted around? And if so, what could that look like?
I hope not, Wilson, but it's Baton Rouge weather. It's been a crazy week already. We're going to monitor the weather along with our event management staff, and the weather can change, at the drop of a hat. So we're not going to predict too much out. I think we're going to be okay for tomorrow. I think they're predicting that the weather is going to be kind of lousy in the morning, but could move out by midday, and that we should be okay for tomorrow night. When we start predicting as far out for Friday's weather, I think it gets a little bit, challenging. So, the predictions that we're hearing right now are not too optimistic for later in the day on Friday. But, one thing we've learned is, trying to predict weather 48 hours in advance is very, very tricky around here with, all the water areas, the river and so forth. So, we're just gonna, try to move through it one day at a time. Hopefully don't have to end up playing a doubleheader on Saturday, but we'll do what we have to do to try to get the games in. The SEC is pretty magical and getting the games in one way or the other. So we're going to do our best one way or the other to get them in.
I know you mentioned obviously last Saturday you guys go for that final game. I'm curious, that just more you said rest at the time. Do you expect him to be back in the lineup this weekend?
Glenn, you froze for a little bit there. I assume you're asking about Giovanni.
Yeah. Just do you
Yeah.
guys expect to have him back in the lineup this
We do.
weekend? I know he sat
Yeah,
last weekend.
I do expect him to be in the lineup, and I think he'll be ready to go full speed, and hopefully that his leg will be fine and be able to play through the entire weekend. That's the plans and the hopes. Yes. You got the rotation. Marcel Labus, TBA. Not surprisingly.
Any surprises to the lineup we can expect? Or is it pretty much going to be, Arnold at second, Travinski at catcher?
I'm
Anything?
pretty certain at this point that's what it's going to be. Nothing's etched in stone. You never know what might happen between now and 6:30 tomorrow night, but without any unforeseeable circumstances coming in, that's what I'm expecting it to be.
With Travinski, obviously y'all had to, you said he got tired playing late in game 2 just because he hasn't done this in a while. Where's he kind of at right now in his progress back to 100%? And obviously, how does it affect, what y'all do at catcher?
Well, we've built up his arm. His arm is starting to react better than it was earlier this year. From the stress reaction, the endurance seems to be building up. Remember, he had that knee surgery that kept him out in the fall. So, squatting for 150 to 200 pitches in a night and blocking balls and doing all the activity that a catcher does is something that you have to build up that kind of stamina as well. So it's a very demanding position, very taxing on you physically as well as mentally. And, hopefully he's going to, meet that task and be able to handle it all. So, he brings certain things to the lineup, that, Alex, God bless him, doesn't really have the capabilities of doing particularly offensively. So, hopefully he'll be able to help us some with, from an offensive standpoint. Alex is obviously his biggest asset is his throwing ability. But I don't think South Carolina runs that much. So, I'm hoping that Hayden will be able to, shoulder most of the time this weekend and hopefully be able to catch up with some of those fastballs. That's been something that he's got to be able to do as well. He's a powerful bat, but he also has to be able to catch up to 95 miles an hour. And he showed some promise this past weekend, and we're hoping that he can do that this weekend as well. Okay. Fun.
Well, I had another one and it slipped my mind, so you could just wait 1 second. With South Carolina, their offense seemed, like you said, really powerful. They got, I think, 50 home runs this year. When a team is that kind of power heavy, does it change the way that y'all approach things as a pitching staff at all in terms of like what Allen calls or anything like that? Or do you kind of just have to not consider that at all?
Well, certainly you have to consider it. Yeah, because you got to be careful. One mistake can be 3 runs on the board. but I can't divulge, exactly how we're going to, pitch to the hitters. That'd be like a coach telling you, a football coach telling you, well, this is how we're going to attack this particular defense. These are the plays we're going to call. You can't divulge everything, but yeah, definitely. You look at which hitters are hot, and as I mentioned, their leadoff hitter has been really swinging a good bat, but they had a couple guys that were really hot last night, and obviously we'll take note of that. Their kid Clark has 15 home runs. He got off to a great start at the beginning of the season. He's cooled down a little bit, but what he's capable of doing. Angster is another guy, man. Last year he might have been their best hitter on their team last year, and he hits behind Clark. So, it's pick your poison with those guys. They've got a lot of guys in their lineup that can really hurt you. So, Marceau is going to have to be at the top of his game tomorrow night and not make many mistakes, because they're the kind of guys that are really hurt you. And again, I sound like a broken record on this, but I think the wind is going to be a big factor this weekend. Whenever you play a team, and our team is a home run hitting team, of course, the wind plays a big factor in which direction it's blowing. And the early forecast on the wind blowing is that it's going to be blowing in tomorrow night from the right field, straight in from right field, and then the next 2 days blowing in from left field. So, that could affect the way you pitch as well. You pitch the left-handed hitters in, and let them hit it into the teeth of the wind, and the next couple of days pitch the right-handed hitters in. Those kind of strategies sometimes come into play as well.
Another one of those bullpen guys, Devin, he seems to have kind of found whatever was going on, at the beginning of the season. Do you think that he's kind of back to where he was right at the start of things? He seems to maybe still be issuing a few walks, but are you more confident in what he's giving you right now?
Oh, yes, most definitely, Wilson. Devin has always been a great competitor, but, this game is a very humbling game. Nobody's perfect, and these guys, if you cut them, they bleed. They're not robots. You can't run them out there and just expect them to be perfect every time. So, you got to be sensitive to some days their confidence wanes a little bit, and Devin is no different than anybody else. But I feel very, very good about where he's at mentally and physically. I thought he pitched very courageously this past weekend at Kentucky. And if it wasn't for him, I don't know if we win that second game. And he didn't even have his best stuff. He was gassed, and he just did it on guts and adrenaline and found a way to get the job done without having his best stuff. I tell you, that was one of his best performances without having his best stuff, and without Devin Fontenot, we don't win game 2 at Kentucky last weekend. So you have to admire the kid. He just battled and battled and battled for his team, for LSU the other day, and we owe him a lot.
Hey, Coach, just I don't know how much you can speak on this, but just how much has Jaden been around the team the last couple of weeks? Is he, going to get that surgery pretty soon? And just kind of what's his involvement like? I know he's not going to be back with you guys, but just where is he at, I guess?
He wasn't with us last week very much at all, because we left to go to Kentucky on Thursday, and before that he went back home for the funeral of CJ, Cedric Harris, his son, and so we didn't see him all week last week. I expect that he'll be back with the team this week and, be around the team. And I know he does have surgery scheduled, but I'd rather not speak specifically to that. And maybe he can answer those questions if you want to ask him, divulge whatever information he'd like to divulge on that. Okay.
Paul, we haven't actually, you mentioned CJ just there. You had his initials written on your hat not too long ago. How has, losing someone who's part of, LSU baseball like that, how has that affected y'all as a program right now?
Just heartbreaking. Cedric Harris and his wife, who's a tremendous basketball player here from Miami. I'm from Miami. She's from Miami. Her story her family came from Haiti. She learned to play basketball when she was like 13 years old, came to LSU, tremendous athlete. Her whole relationship with Cedric is a wonderful story. If you haven't heard it, just a wonderful love affair, and they built a family, the boys. Cedric was on 2 national championship teams here. His teammates just adore him. He's remained close to the LSU baseball program. He started a program over in Arkansas, to help youngsters, develop their baseball talents. And CJ is a young man, both football and baseball. He had a real future. He was good enough he was going to end up being either a football or baseball or both here at LSU player in both sports. He's going to be a great player. And he just had this, unbelievable accident and ended up, losing his life. I just can't even imagine what it would be like to go through something like that as a parent. Just can't even imagine. Just can't even imagine, to put yourself in the shoes of those parents to have to deal with something like that. And, fortunately for them, they have wonderful friends, great teammates, from when they had their time here at LSU that have been there to support them and, help them through this most difficult time of their life. And it won't be easy for them, that's for sure. It'll be with them for the rest of their life. But it's just awful, just awful. They'll never get over it. Just count your blessings. Okay.
All right, guys. Thank y'all.
Okay.
So for the remainder of the session, next up we'll have Hayden Travinski, and then following Hayden, we'll have Jordan Thompson, and then we'll finish with Trent Vietmeier after Jordan.
All right, let's start with questions for Hayden.
Hayden, how are you today?
Doing well. How are you?
All right. So we just had a sort of an emotional question from Coach Mainieri, so kind of getting over that stuff, I guess. Paul said that you got a little bit just fatigued in that second game. Was that the first time since high school that you've caught or started back-to-back games? And did you start to feel a little bit fatigued there late?
I think it's my first time since my freshman summer. Just injury had kept me out through the fall, stuff like that. But I think that's the first time I've gone back-to-back 9-inning games for that much workload. But towards the end, I started to feel a little fatigued, but even the day after, my body didn't feel too terrible. So I think that was the best part of it, or the best thing to see.
Hey Hayden, yeah, Coach was just telling us also that in recent weeks it seems like your arm has been responding a lot better to the treatment, and that it's on its way, it's getting there. I mean, just from your perspective, how close to 100% does that arm feel? And I mean, just kind of where do things lie, I guess, in your eyes right now?
Well, I think we've definitely turned a page. I can't thank Corey and the trainers enough due to the work we do post, before the game. But again, it's kind of the same thing with the workload with catching. My body's not responding in a negative way to the workload. I'm not having elbow soreness or any kind of tightness. So I think it's definitely progressed a lot.
At the same time, are you also still getting full strength back after the knee surgery or injury, whatever it was that happened with your knee?
Yeah, I had knee surgery. No, that it feels completely fine.
What sort of, you mentioned like routine and stuff. What sort of, I think there was one day I was walking into the game and you were like off by yourself throwing med balls against a wall or something. What sort of extra work do you have to do to get your arm back to where it was?
So like post game, we'll do some like whether it's soft tissue, just kind of get the tension and soreness out. before the game, I'll go through like blood flow restriction work, some wrist weight work, and then plyo balls, a little bit more stretching, and then just so when I get ready to throw, my arm's already hot. I'm not having to like manufacture any sort of like effort or anything like that, and it's helped a good bit.
At least in conference play, it really seemed like you guys took, a big step forward, with the offense this last weekend. I'm just curious, was there anything that, Eddie or, any of the offensive hitters have done this last week, just kind of, in terms of approach or mindset and just trying to get balls to fall? I mean, obviously that was, a big issue for you guys early on this conference play.
Well, I think we made a big emphasis on, because against Tennessee, we out-hit them, but it was more so the timely hits that we didn't have. If you look last weekend, especially the first game, we had a lot of early on timely hits with 2 outs. I think Eddie's done a great job, and then us as players, we've taken a little bit more pride in having a little bit more of a clutch gene, I guess you could say, and then having the attitude of passing it to the next person and having a little bit more pride about
I mean, Hayden, it seems like hitting is, I don't know, people are like, oh, they need to hit better. But I mean, what goes into like actually working on timely hits specifically and improving that aspect of the game?
I think it's all comes down to the situation. I don't know how you would technically improve timely hitting. It's just because the saying hitting is contagious. Once the ball drops and it keeps rolling and rolling, that's when you as an offense, you start to flow. I find it funny when people on social media and everything like that, like, oh, they can't hit, and it's Joe Schmo sitting on the couch at home. So I think it's very funny to see all that aspect. But I think as an offense, we've progressed every weekend throughout SEC play. I think we have the talent. It's just about finding the right pieces and then gelling and really just starting to let everything snowball in a positive way.
Yeah, just the offense flowing. I mean, Coach Mainieri was talking about, I think maybe after the game or on Monday or something, like it wasn't just the top 4 guys, the Doties, the Cruzes, the Morgans. It was, it was Gio, it was, just guys that are a little bit further down in the lineup. Beloso has certainly come on this last weekend. I mean, when you guys are flowing like that 1 through 9, just kind of how good do you think this offense can be, and how much do you think it can keep you guys in games?
We've seen flashes of it throughout certain games where 1 through 9, it's like you can't get the offense out. I think just having that consistent mindset of on to the next person, do your job. I don't think we've seen the peak potential of this offense. I really don't. There's too much talent. And you mentioned the top 4 hitters. I mean, you look 1 through 9 in the lineup, these are some of the best players in the country to begin with. So I don't think we view it as like, we only have like 4 hitters or anything like that. I think more so just being in a position where we can allow ourselves to be confident and just go out there and play the game and have fun. Whereas on the flip side of that, putting too much pressure on ourselves, getting way too tight, and then making it not as enjoyable.
For you personally, what maybe did something click against Kentucky? I mean, you came into that hitless in SEC play. Was there something that you had to work on that finally just kind of set in?
I think more so for me, I think it was just a mental thing. Like I said, first, I don't even know the amount of at-bats. It was just more so trying to be way too perfect and putting way too much pressure on myself. And then you kind of like lock yourself up mentally. I mean, it's all sample size. It's not really like I've had 100 SEC at-bats or anything like that. So just allowing yourself to have fun, I think, is the most important part, because at the end of the day, this is a child's game. You just got to enjoy it. There's no point in trying to, this is a wrong sport for perfection. I'll tell you that much.
Also curious real quick with Jordan Thompson. He's come on so strong over the last few weeks. How would you, describe him as a teammate and what he brings to y'all?
I think he's a really, really talented player. He has an absolute rifle of an arm. Plays with a lot of energy, a lot of passion. I think as a teammate, that's really enjoyable to see when your teammates consistently in the game, whether they're doing poorly or whether they're 4 for 4. I think there's an energy to it that is like undeniable. And we all know he has the talent. It's just whether or not he allows it to play by just, like I said, just having fun and being himself. So I think he's done a really good job of that the past few weeks, especially.
Something his high school coach mentioned was that when he was in high school, I mean, obviously it's a little bit of a different scene, but he was like a kind of a calming presence just because of his personality. Is he that same way with y'all here?
Yeah, he's really, really laid back, and you'll never see him at shortstop getting visibly pissed off, say if he strikes out, because he goes in to play his position, gets the job done. He's not like he's far from like a cancerous aspect in the lineup or in the locker room. He's a great guy, and we love him as a teammate. So.
Any more questions for Hayden? Thank y'all.
All right, guys, we'll continue now. Jordan Thompson is joining us. So we'll go ahead. You guys can go ahead with questions for Jordan.
Hey, Jordan. So, I think we were talking with Coach Mainieri earlier this week, and he puts you kind of in a pretty elite category and guys that are just kind of obsessed with the game. You're always trying to get constant work in, always trying to do the little extra things to improve your game. I'm just curious, where did that mindset come from? And just what are some of the things that you are kind of doing on your own and kind of extra that nobody else is really doing?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think I've always been like that. I mean, when I was little, I was begging my dad to take me to the field every single day to take ground balls and hit ever since I was like 6, 7 years old. So, I mean, I get this part of that. I just want to be on the field whenever I can. Like if there's not practice, I want to practice, And I know me and Eddie have been working a lot in the cages. Like we'll have our early work groups before our games or before practice, and I'll want to hit an hour before that early group, and then I'm always wanting to take extra ground balls. So I don't know, it's just wanting to get better. And because, if you're not really getting better, you're getting worse. So I'm always just trying to do as much as I can to keep up my skills and keep getting better.
Coach Mainieri said that for you at the very start of the year, you were just kind of playing back. You weren't really, at least defensively, you weren't attacking the ball like you wanted to see, and that you've started to do that in particular the last few weeks. Why do you think that initially that wasn't happening for you? Was it just sort of timid, like getting used to college baseball?
I don't know what it was. I think just like as you get older, the pace of play begins to like get faster and faster. So sitting back on balls isn't really an option because guys are a lot faster. And I think it took me a little bit of time to finally realize that. But lately I've been noticing how much like important it is for me to go tag balls and get balls as quick as I can so I can get them over to the first baseman as fast as I can. So, I mean, it's really helped and improved my game. So I'm glad that what we've worked on is helping.
Trey said when you do get hold of the ball, you have a bit of a cannon. I understand you also pitched in high school. Did you ever give consideration to, throwing like 93, 95, did you ever give consideration to trying to do that at the next level, or did you always focus on the infield?
I always thought it would be cool, but I've always been a shortstop. It wasn't really like, oh, I'm a pitcher that plays shortstop. I was a shortstop that could pitch. I was really a thrower, I guess. But I don't know. I was a pretty good pitcher in high school. I didn't really work on it though. Like I would throw 10 pitches in the bullpen before I would go, and then I would pitch. I don't know. I just went up there and did it. It was just kind of fun for me instead of like me taking it seriously, I guess. But yeah, I don't know. I always pitched because I had a strong arm, but right now it's just I'm really focused on playing shortstop and hitting.
Just how much more comfortable are you becoming at the plate? Just even this last weekend, I think you went 8 for 12, 9 for 12, something like that. Just is it growing every week with the confidence at the plate?
Yeah, definitely. I think a lot of the things that me and Eddie have been working on in the cages are like finally starting to click and coming together. So it helps me with my confidence and everything, knowing that, okay, we're on the right track, we're doing the right thing. So just to see a little bit of success, which I had last weekend, is just a big confidence booster. So, hopefully things will continue. Obviously, I'm not going to go 9 for 12 every weekend, but to have it was huge for me to be more confident in the box and stuff like that. It'll be huge going forward.
I know that Paul had mentioned to us earlier this week that he thinks a lot of your success has come from, okay, you can hit opposite field now, as opposed to when defenses were maybe kind of positioning themselves to where you were going to pull the ball. Now you can hit opposite field. Just how much of a focus has that been on, on your mind the last month or so?
Yeah, that's been me and Eddie's biggest focus. We're always in the cage. He wants me hitting line drives over the second baseman's head when we're in the cage. That's my focus, hit a line drive right there. So, it's definitely going to open up a lot more holes as I continue to be able to put balls that way. I know I've hit a lot of baseballs in that 6 hole, but the shortstop's playing right over third baseman, where those are hits for guys where they're not shifting, So I know the more I'm able to do that, the more hits I'll be able to get and the more I'll be able to help the team out. So that's the main focus. Me and Eddie work on it every day. So we're just going to try to keep getting better and better at it as the season goes on.
By the way, Jordan, Cole Holland says hello.
Oh, awesome. Sweet. I haven't talked to him in a while.
He was saying that one theory he had, and I'm curious if this is correct, when teams do a pull side shift like that, do you also get pitched inside more, which to try to induce a ball hit that way? Or are you still kind of getting pitches on the outer half when they're doing that?
A little bit of both. I think I definitely get pitched in a lot because that's where they have me shifted. But I mean, guys still try to throw outside to try to get me to roll over on those pitches. I don't know. I feel like they just think I'm a straight pull hitter. So wherever they throw it, I'm gonna pull it. But I mean, they could keep doing that. We'll see what happens.
For you, I mean, being sort of obsessed with baseball, like we said, I mean, and wanting to do it since 6 or 7, was there something that, was baseball just the sport that you always played and you just loved it? I mean, having an older brother who played, did that sort of influence you too?
Yeah, I had an older brother that played. He was 3 years older than me. So when he was playing T-ball, I'm like 2 or 3 years old. I was going to his games, whatever. I would want to be involved in stuff. Like my parents put me on his team when I was like 4 years old, playing with like 7 and 8-year-olds. So, I mean, I was just always obsessed with the game. I wanted to play. Like ever since I was little, it's all I ever wanted to do. So, I mean, doing whatever I can to get better it's all I've ever wanted to do. I want to be on the baseball field. There's nothing else I'd rather do.
So like when y'all have a game rained out last night against Grambling and you don't get to play, how upset are you?
Oh, it was tough, especially not being able to be on the field. I mean, we were able to hit in the cages, but it's like, I want to be on the baseball field. We were supposed to have a game. I wanted to play. I was bummed about it, but I mean, weather happens. You can't control those type of things. And, I'm just super excited for this weekend to get back out there.
I mean, I don't know how much of the reporter scouting you guys have done on South Carolina, but is there, any kind of initial thoughts you have on that series? Obviously, it's another, top 5, top 10 team that's coming to Baton Rouge to try to take you guys down.
Yeah, I mean, they're a good team. I don't know much about them. I just know that it's going to be a dogfight, and then we're all really excited to get after and show them what we can do. I know we've been on the right track lately, and I'm excited to see what we're going to do against this team.
You did it, man. I know we kind of talked to you about this like post game, but a few more days removed from it. Do you feel like something really clicked for y'all offensively against Kentucky? And if so, like what created that sort of sudden outburst?
Yeah, I mean, I think Beloso said it in one of his interviews. Hitting it's contagious. It really is. And seeing other guys on the team hit against some of their better arms, it's like, okay, now I want to get up there and I hit. You see someone get hit in front of you, you want to be a guy that gets a hit. And when you get multiple guys getting hits in a row, you don't want to be the guy that gets out. So I don't know, it just brings more confidence to you seeing other guys do well, and it makes you want to do well as well. So, I mean, I think it's that type of thing, and we're just going to roll with it and see where it goes.
Hayden also said that ever since Tennessee, like y'all had out-hit Tennessee in that series, but lost a bunch of close games because the timely hits weren't there. How do y'all focus on timely hitting? Like, is that something that can just be improved or just sort of happens?
I mean, it could definitely be improved on. I think the past couple of weeks, we've really been working on situational hitting a lot. So, I mean, putting that in your mind, like, okay, there's a runner on third base with 2 outs. You got to get this guy in practice. You're doing it every day in practice. When you go up in the game, it's not something where it's like, oh, you're pressing about trying to do it. It's just you go up there and you do it, So it's just working on it, putting it in your head, and having a good approach when you're up there and knowing the situation, not letting it get too big for you.
Going back real quick to like your own past and how you got here. When did you start really focusing on sort of physical development? Because the picture you posted, like when you committed to LSU, I mean, you're pretty small.
Yeah.
Not to say that you're like huge now, but like you're obviously a college athlete. When did you start really focusing on making that part of your game?
Probably 16, 17 years old. Just because when we would go out to summer tournaments and stuff like that, I was one of the smallest kids on the team. Like we would go to these big events with all of these top players, and they're all 6 foot, 200 pounds or whatever. And I'm 6 foot, 155, 160 pounds. It's like, geez, I mean, these guys are hitting bombs and I want to be able to do that. So it's obviously something I got to do. So I just had to start eating more and working out more. And I don't know, I've gotten a little bit closer to that, still not up there, but I mean, we're just doing what we can.
Did you have anybody like that you went to help you with that, or was it just sort of natural, development through your adolescence?
Yeah, I had a trainer. I have a trainer. His name's Andre back in San Diego. So I would go to him like 4 or 5 days a week. And me and him would train. He had a meal plan for me to help me gain weight and get bigger and stronger. So that really helped.
Sorry, what did you say his name was?
Andre Hernandez.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Any more questions?
I've got like 1 or 2 more if I could real
Okay.
quick. Obviously like Zach Arnold's from California too. Like LSU's had some players from California, but it is a long way from home for you. What attracted you to come down here?
Winning a national championship. I mean, I think it was in 2017 when I committed, and they had just finished runner-up in the College World Series, and it was huge for me. And when I came out here on my official visit or on my unofficial visit, the coaches were just great. The facilities were unbelievable, and I really thought there's no better place for me to develop as a baseball player than coming to LSU. I mean, I could go anywhere on the West Coast and be comfortable, I guess, but being out of your comfort zone, being here at LSU so far away from me, it really pushes me to my limits to do things that I probably wouldn't do when I'm back home, you know?
Yeah, I get that. Other than, trying to win a national championship, what are some of the just sort of things that you hope to accomplish while you're here?
Making lifelong friends, stuff like that. I mean, that's really what it is. You're here. I'm here to play baseball. I'm here to get a college degree, and I'm here to be friends with guys forever. I mean, I've already made great connections with guys on the team that I wouldn't have made if I'm not here, you know? So it's something that's special to me to be able to meet these guys and to be able to be a part of the same team as them.
Thank you, Jordan.
Thank you, guys.
I guess our final player today will be Trent Vietmeier. So you guys can go ahead and start with questions for Trent.
Hey, Trent, how are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. I'm Wilson. I don't know if we've gotten a chance to meet over the last few years. So pleasure to see you. It seems like, this last week against Kentucky, I think you had 2 1/3 innings pitched scoreless. Do you feel like you're back to kind of where you were before that medical issue that you had?
Well, you're never, as a pitcher, you never really feel like you're there yet. I feel like I'm pitching to the best of my ability right now. I feel like there's a lot more leeway to get better as well. I feel like there's more to come yet in this season out of me and out of the whole pitching staff.
Is there anything, I mean, obviously, that's personal, so I understand if you don't want to expound on it all, but is there anything else that you can say about what that was?
With why I was out?
Yeah.
It was just a weird thing, we don't know if it was because of COVID. We don't know if it was because of, anything else. I had COVID back in January, so it could be just pre-existing conditions. You never know. And it was kind of hard to really track down an exact answer to what it was. But it's better now, and I know I'm better than ever now, and I'm ready to get back after it.
Yeah, Trent, I mean, you started off this season, it was a little bit rocky, just, trying to work yourself back. I mean, just when did you, I guess, maybe feel like you were 100% or wherever you are now, just like, obviously you're out there and you've thrown a couple really good outings the last couple, times you've been out there. Just what has been the difference maybe from earlier this season to maybe the last couple of weeks?
Well, you always have kind of that little bit of time where you're working back into things, no matter how hard you train and how many bullpens you throw, how many flat grounds you throw, how much you do in the off season. It never really correlates to facing batters. Facing batters is the main thing that really honestly locks me in and gets me better as a pitcher. I guess I just needed time to really get back in the groove and get back to facing hitters compared to just throwing flat grounds, bullpens, all that stuff.
And I was also curious to ask you, I understand you're a volunteer firefighter, or at least were. When did you start doing that? Is it something that you still do in the off season?
Yeah, so it was 2000 and what would that be, 16 or 15, something like that? I don't know, but I had a best friend in high school, Nick O'Malley. His dad's really big into the volunteer fire department around me, and he is as well. He's very big into it. And me and him were, sitting around talking one day, and he said, "Hey man, with all your training you do and all your you're an athlete, all this stuff." He goes, "Why don't you try and put your skills to the test with being a firefighter?" And I said, "Man, like, I didn't expect much out of it. I was just like, all right, I'll come by, do a couple training things, whatever." And I said, after I went through a couple training things, I said, where do I sign up for this? I was like, this is pretty cool, man. This is something I'd like to do, any way to help the community out in any way I'm about. So really I started, like I said, 2015, 2016. Anytime I'm home, I try to go as many calls as I can. I'm not certified to go into a burning building, but I do like car wrecks, anything, entrapments, rollovers, anything like that. But the mom didn't really want to allow me to go into a burning building yet. So then maybe someday.
And I can understand why she might not want to let her son go into a burning building.
Right. Absolutely.
I mean, what's maybe the most, I don't know, harrowing thing that you've done, or in terms of like, helping somebody out of a car or something? What was maybe an experience that really left an impression on you?
Well, there's a lot of stuff that, it's kind of hard to disclose, really say anything about, because there's been some brutal things that go on, with rollovers and just drunk drivers and everything. Another main reason that I started was because my dad's sister was killed by a drunk driver whenever she was 13. So it's hard to pinpoint really one thing that was ever heroic or anything like that, but I mean, every call I go on, I know that it's the fact that it's life or death for some people, and if it's just to maybe get someone on to the next person and do the best that I can to possibly help them, then so be it.
You're gonna ask, are you also a foreman with like a landscaping company or something like that?
Yeah, so my dad, he owns Country Club Gardens in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So in the summertime, I go back and I work on a brick crew. I work around about 5 or 6 guys, and I'm a part foreman. I work with another foreman on a site. So I've been doing it since I was 16. Ever since I was able to drive, my dad said, "Hey, that gas ain't gonna fill, or the truck ain't gonna fill itself up with gas." So I was like, "Okay, well, what do you need me to do?" So I started out, and my dad's owned this company for 30 years. And the first day I went in, whenever I was 16, he had me clean the toilets. So, I mean, it was kind of like a, welcome to it type deal. And ever since then, every time I go back, I work for him, and it gives me something to do. Obviously baseball's first, and he understands that as well. So, I mean, I work from 7 a.m., start at 7, be there at 7, all the way till about 4:30, sometimes 6 o'clock, depending on our day. And then after that, it's baseball till the time I go to bed. But yeah, somewhat foreman, operator, heavy machine operator. I do all that all the deals that come with landscaping and hardscaping and masonry work and all that stuff.
So I guess my follow-up to that is, I mean, you're a volunteer firefighter, you're that as well. You're also a pitcher. You're, well built. You've got a well-built physique. I mean, just how much do you believe in hard work?
Oh, hard work's the key to everything. I wouldn't be where I am today without working hard. I mean, everybody says, "Oh, they got the right skill, they got the right," they were born with this, they were born with that. I mean, put it this way, I wouldn't be anywhere close to LSU if I wouldn't work my butt off, my tail off, in order to get to this place. Hard work is something that you got to come to the field with every day. A lot of guys don't understand that. A lot of people don't understand that, I should say, and it's a lot further than just saying, "Oh, well, you got lucky, you're able to throw the ball 90 miles an hour," or whatever, 95, whoever it is. Jaden Hill throwing 98. People think that he was just born with that. No, Jaden comes in every day and works as hard as anybody else, as well as Matthew Beck. I know he's had a strain of bad luck here in the past couple of weeks, but still, I mean, he's working his butt off trying to get back and be a part of the team. If you surround yourself with people that work hard, you're bound to work hard yourself.
Wise words, I've ever heard them. You mentioned Matthew Beck. I mean, what kind of role has he sort of taken on as he tries to continue to come back, but he's sidelined right now. But I mean, he has, the number 8, which obviously means something to y'all in this program. He seems like he's involved in everything. What kind of role has he taken on since he's been sidelined?
Beck is like he's like the dad of the team, man. Beck is the guy who you could go to, and if you're having any troubles, whether it's schoolwork or a girlfriend or baseball or weightlifting or anything, Beck is like that role model you go up to and ask about, because he has the seniority, because he's been here for so long. He's the guy who you could trust to ask anything. I try to model myself off of him, to be honest with you, because he's one of the best guys I've been around in my 4 years here. As well as Clay Moffitt. Clay Moffitt was another guy who was just absolutely great to this program. Guys that you could go talk to. They'll invite you over their house. They'll sit there and talk to you till midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning. It doesn't matter. And I see Beck being very successful outside of baseball and in his life down the road as well, just because of that.
Pivoting to South Carolina for a bit. I mean, this is a team that is really reliant on home runs. They've hit a lot of them, similar to y'all in that regard anyway. Not giving away, the secrets of how y'all going to pitch, but when a team is that home run heavy, does it change what y'all do as a staff in any way?
Well, I mean, if you look at our stats, we're an off-speed pitch type of team, and we're just going to pitch our game. I mean, obviously you're going to give up home runs. That's a part of the game. You're going to, they're going to be tight ball games. I do not see South Carolina coming in here and absolutely curb stomping us by any means and, hitting 10 home runs a game or whatever. But I do think that we're going to pitch them smartly. And the fact that, don't make mistakes, don't miss your spots. That's going to be the major thing to this weekend.
On another one of your teammates, Jordan Thompson, obviously we just talked to him. He's come on so strong lately. What kind of attitude did y'all see him have, or how do you see him just growing over the last few weeks as a freshman who really seems to come into his own?
Jordan's a great kid, man. He was kind of trying to think. He was just he's kind of timid at first. That's the only way to put it. He didn't want to really show his cockiness. He didn't want to show his, how good he really was. He didn't want anybody to know about it. He's a great kid, and seeing him develop into what he is, I always knew that he had a great bat. Seeing him in the fall and how he hit in the fall, I knew that this kid was going to be something big. I mean, his size doesn't really tell you that he's going to be this slugging guy who could, hit doubles, home runs, triple, whatever it is. I mean, but in all honesty, seeing him develop is one of the coolest things ever, because you don't expect it out of a guy. Like I said, you don't expect him to hit doubles or home runs or anything like that. But whenever he comes out and does it, you're like, man, all right, this is pretty cool to have a guy like this on your team. And it's really awesome, man.
Yeah, we saw him against UTSA with all those homers, obviously had that big walk-off. How much power is in that frame of his?
And it's showing right now, man. I mean, it's showing, he's able to, he's able to hit, anyway. I hated facing him in the fall. I'll tell you that right now. He was one of the worst batters to face in the fall, just because he's smart. You could get him on some things, but he doesn't really feast off of or make mistakes as a hitter. He doesn't make. But you have to be, in order to pitch to him, you have to be able to hit your spots, be able to locate your curveball, your slider, your changeup, whatever it is, man. And he doesn't miss. He does not miss.
Any more questions for Trent?
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Trent, do you have any more time? Like about 3 more minutes? Yeah. I just wanted to record something with you for the
Ashley, we done?
Yes, that is all. Thank you.